Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the V8 Veterans for Season 19. It is going to be absolutely massive this season, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting even bigger this season here in Split 2 land because we've actually expanded our commentary team, and I can hear my co-commentator in the background just quietly, Scott. I can hear the stream in the background through your microphone. Just thought I'd let you know of that one just quickly. But I am one of your commentators here tonight, Hamish Munro, joined alongside by Mr. Scotty Gamble. Scotty, great to have you here, mate. Great to have you in the land of Split 2. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal season going forward, mate. And I look forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Hamish. Happy to be here co-commentating with you in Split 2. And yeah, it's going to be a real treat. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these drivers go throughout the season, who's going to be pushing into Split 1 and who's going to cement themselves at the top of the championships. It's going to be very interesting.
Mate, this championship is going to be absolutely epic. It was an absolutely mega run to the end of the line last season. The battle between Poynton and Scholes was absolutely epic. The battle between Goosey and Randall for that P3 position in the championship was absolutely epic. It was nothing like I had seen prior in the level of Split 2 of how good the racing was towards the latter half of that season. And if we can get going off with a fly here tonight out at Laguna Seca, we're going to be on for absolutely something mega leading up to the vet's 20th birthday in a season's time. But of course, you know, season 19 comes with some new regulations, some new rules as well. Namely, Scotty, the biggest change is we've upped our level in terms of how many drivers actually in each split. It's now gone up to 50 drivers per split, which allows for 150 drivers total throughout the whole league.
That is a big change, Hamish. It brings new faces. It brings new faces down from Split 1, new faces from Split 3 up into Split 2, and also allows a little bit more involvement for those that have been on the waiting list. So it does throw open the splits a little bit. It does bring in those, new drivers. There's going to be some surprises in there. So yeah, it's probably a good thing. Tough on a track like Laguna Seca, one of the shortest, the shortest track we go to this season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how the drivers deal with those extra cars on track.
Well, speaking of our track here tonight, let's check it out here with our Google Earth track splash here. WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, known for sports car racing in the US. We go here tonight with our phenomenal V8 supercars down in California. We can see it there located just south of San Fran and pretty north of LA. But as we come on down, we can check it out in amongst the sort of dunes style. It's real like a mountainy area here. It's totally dry, totally arid. You'd think there'd be quite a fair bit of green, but in fact, there just isn't. But Monterey, California is the location for tonight. 11 turns and 3.6 kilometers of racing here out at Laguna Seca. We all start on the main straight. Then turn 1, well, it's not even really a turn, Scotty. It's kind of just a kink as they come round and then down into the hard braking zone at the Andretti hairpin for turn 2.
Yeah, absolutely, Hamish. There is an elevation change as you head down into that Andretti hairpin. Very easy to lock a front inside left tyre, run a little wide. Up into turn 3 and 4, it's all very much a balancing act with how you apply the brake, how much you do, how much you get grip on the front end. Through turn 5 up into turn 6. Turn 6, probably one of the most difficult turns of the track because it is so high flowing. It's very easy to get some oversteer on exit. Very easy to run wide into the side, Hamish.
Oh, it is such a difficult run through that corner just to get your car lined up properly. And when you're in an intensifying battle, it can really start to shake up the mentality a little bit as you come through there. But then the run up through the Rahal straight up into 7 and 8 and 8A, the corkscrew. Arguably another tough corner at this circuit just to get the car under brakes as you're coming uphill and as it transitions over the downhill in that braking zone, you kind of just trickle your way down and it's a one-line run through that corner. So if we see anyone go for a dive, it could end up in trouble. Then round through the rainy curve at turn 9. Quite a difficult corner. It got a little bit of a sullen loop about it where if you can't get it turned in right, you could end up running wide very easily. So that's going to be another corner driver's going to have to be careful of. And then down into turn 10 as well. Another difficult corner, but another good passing opportunity. And then rounding it out down at turn 11. Hard braking zone. Nice opportunity, but they got to maximize the runs out of that corner if they want to have any advantage coming into turn 2 at the end of the straight.
Well, they're going to be the biggest opportunity, overtaking opportunities here is turn 11. being able to get it up on the inside there, and also, like you said, the run down the straight down into the Andretti hairpin. If you get that drive off turn 11, it does give you that advantage. If you can get to the inside coming into turn 2, you can get the overtake done.
So I guess the big question is, how do you think the drivers are having to mentally prepare coming into a new season, possibly some new challenges, some new adversaries as well for those who are still in Split 2 or have previously been in Split 2, coming up against guys who may not have been in Split 2 for a while, have never been in Split 2 before. What's the mentality you think going to be of the drivers coming in, looking forward to a new season, but obviously wanting to get going how they left off in season 18?
Well, it's interesting because we've had a big break. It's a 3-week break. There's been some pre-qualifying going on, but race 1, always of a new season, always turns a few heads here and there. A few get caught out on their strategy. Some are a little underprepared. Others are overprepared by doing so many laps in the downtime. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, how drivers will adapt to it. Adapt to the strategy, bringing that back in, adapt to the new drivers that are in Split 2 here tonight. So I think from a mindset point of view, or my mindset was just go out, do the best I can do, have a rough idea of the strategy that I had in place, like my earliest pit stops that I could make at home, and just let the race evolve and see where I'm at. And obviously the last third of the race, that's when things really start to heat up after that last final pit stop, compulsory pit stop 2 tonight. And that's when you see things start to really shake out and see where people are at.
Yeah, I think the compulsory pit stops, obviously, that was a big change in previous seasons, and drivers have now had a little bit of time to get used to that change as well, obviously, knowing when you can take those compulsories and knowing the little nuances of how you can take advantage of those compulsories as well, obviously within the rules, and doing that so it is fair to the rules still, but so you are actually able to take advantage of it in some way. If your competitors are not used to taking those advantages out on track, but you know, Laguna, it offers up a great amount of, I think, battling and racing around this track. It is one that is known in infamy almost. You know, it's been on many a racing title from a long period of time. I can remember it being back on Gran Turismo back in the day on the PS2, and it just continues to kind of be almost like a cult classic of a circuit to come racing at. And to bring supercars around here, I think, is a great challenge to drivers, but it's also going to give us a sense of the tone for the season we're going to have to come to see how drivers are actually tackling this track comparatively to Phillip Island last season and tracks prior at round 1.
It will, Hamish. There's Laguna Seca. I do remember practicing on this track a lot in Forza Motorsport. That was another title that had it. But probably my favourite memory of Laguna Seca is Casey Stoner on the World Superbikes here, coming down through the corkscrew, how close he got it to the ground, and the shots that they had on live TV at the time. I was absolutely awestruck and just amazed at how they get through there so far. So it is an international track. It's world renowned, and it is a track for me. I really like it. I don't always do the best at it, but it is a track that I'm really fond of and enjoy driving on.
Yeah, I think one of my favourite memories of this track, whilst we're quickly talking about it, was there was a battle that happened for the last lap of an IMSA race that happened here in the mid-2000s between a Corvette and a Porsche 911, and they were going back and forth lap after lap, and they ended up crashing on the line on the final lap. And it was as we were getting into twilight, and the yellow lights are starting to come on for that IMSA race, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So this is a track in infamy, as we mentioned. A lot of people have got a lot of memories around this circuit as well. We have got a heap of chats in the chat already as well. Will Munro, Anakin Daly, Simon Hayes, Ed Fox, Anita Buckland, Richard Barella, Rusty Gander, Gary Buckland, Dave Arney as well. Great to have you all here. John Gallen, Jim Caparonis is in the chat too. Reese DeGoey. So great to have you all here. Matt Grumley, the Rattler, Scotty Van Loon out there too. So great to have you all here with us here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for round number 1. But we are going to get gridded up now and ready to go racing for the first time here in season 19. The drivers will have a nice little 5-minute warm-up just to get themselves prepared for this start here, Scotty. Now, when you're coming into a warm-up, are you trying to attempt to get your practice starts done, or just kind of get a little bit of warmth in the car, or possibly just go have a break after qualifying?
Yeah, mate. I normally just get my qualifying laps down, and then I'm off. I'm out, toilet break. Get one of them in. The bladder isn't what it used to be, and I take a little bit of time. Maybe do a couple of stretches like I do. I try to loosen up my shoulders, get some of those strains out of the calf that, out of the calves and feet and ankles warmed up that I may have got from the hour practice and then the qualifying prior. And yeah, I generally don't do practice or pre-warm up here, should I say. I'll just come back, maybe a couple of minutes left, and just sit in the car and just wait for race start. So very rarely I'll ever do a warm up. Mate.
Yeah, I think, I guess maybe as the season goes on, there's less and less drivers that do warm-ups. Maybe the non-season veterans out there, maybe they know the secrets of, hey, let's just not do a warm-up, let's just go straight into the race. But it's going to give us a good opportunity to check out some of these cars before they actually get going and racing. Obviously, namely the newer drivers into Split 2 this season. There are a couple of them out on track at the moment. Namely Reece Degoe, who finished in the top 3 for performance sim racing in Split 3 last season. So he has now been given the automatic promotion up to Split 2. Great to see how Reece goes here tonight. I've called quite a few races of other drivers out of performance sim racing, so I look forward to seeing how Reece goes himself. Darren Crosby, namely down from Split 1 into Split 2. Another driver I've had a lot of experience calling this season across in Sim Racing World TV land for M1 Racing. We spoke pre-race, Scotty, about how he can do, and if he can keep himself cool, calm and collected, he could do very, very well this season here in Split 2 and hopefully gain something inside of him and about him that can help him then progress and kind of fight better if he returns back to Split 1 in future seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. He is going to be one to watch here in Split 2 throughout the season. When he gets it right, he gets it right in a good way, and has had some really good performances in Split 1. Probably lacking a little bit of consistency over a season, and coming back to Split 2, I think he'll be able to prove a point, and looking forward to seeing how he goes. And I'm sure he's going to have a few people chasing him as we progress.
Well, we've also now got a nice little international flavour going here for Split 2. Stacey Boyd, they were always in the chat, was Stacey, and he's now in here with us for Split 2 after joining the Vets this season. So great to have an American out there here in Split 2. I know we've got a couple other internationals out in Split 3 land, but it's good to finally get some international cred about us here in Split 2, and it's not just the Aussies and the Kiwis out there.
Yeah, it is. It's good to have him in. He's looking great in the in the diesel-looking car there with the chubby buns on the back. It's a great-looking livery they've turned out. I've seen a couple of them floating around now. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how Stacey goes. Being in America, it's a big commitment, isn't it, with the time differences for these guys that do it. So, yeah, big kudos out to Stacey, and hopefully he has a good season.
Well, I know he's on the East Coast, so he has a bit of a not so much of an earlier wake up to come racing with us as he would if he was on the West Coast. So he just has to stay up a little bit later to race with us. But yeah, I'm sure he'll have a good run here tonight. We'll have to wait and see how he does go. So, but about a minute left in the warm-up session now, so we will get ready to go racing very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Namely, a couple of the drivers who've now come back into Split 2. Mario Reale out on track though as he goes off the exit of what looks to be turn 10 just there as well, so missing the braking marker into that corner. So we'll have to wait and see how these drivers are going to go here tonight and throughout this season as well. Mick Clifton up from Split 3 for Accelerate Sim Racing, so good to see Mick having a crack out there, and hopefully he can continue this run that he had from Split 3 into Split 2 this season, and just try and again go one better and try and stay up here for season 20.
Yeah, Mick Clifton's an interesting one because he's got Greg Favell, Anthony Visma in the stable there over Accelerate Sim Racing, both very good drivers. So he's got a lot of depth behind him to help him push forward and adapt to the changes in Split 2, the tempo that rises by going up a split. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing how Mick goes over the season, and I think he'll do surprisingly well, I think.
So we will now get ready for our starting grid here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as the warm-up session comes to an end. It's going to be a massive season ahead, but it all starts here tonight. But unfortunately, we have to wait till all the cars are ready to get gridded up before we can run through our starting grid. But, I mean, we've spoken about it at length. Laguna Seca, it's one of those tracks that is just could offer us up some spice, could also offer us up some phenomenal battles as well. But starting grid for tonight's race, Jim Caperonis starts it out on pole, so he continues his impressive run towards the end of last season with some good lap times by getting the car on pole here tonight for round number 1. Ed Fox will start alongside in P2. There was kind of notions of him getting better last season as he came into Split 2. Well, this season could be the one that he has his little breakout moment. Matty Parker, he starts out strong here, starting out of P3 alongside former Split 1 driver Darren Crosby alongside him there in P4 for M1 Racing. Andrew Hoffman and Gary Buckleman will then make up the third row of the grid in behind, with Stephen Greck and Peter Latham in behind them in P7 and P8. Robert Crow will then start in P number 9 ahead of Brendan Zatira there in P10. With Steve Grumley, we know what kind of performances he put out last season, but can he keep the head clear and keep himself concentrated here going forward this season to try and maximise on those performances? Starting out of P11 could be a good opportunity for him to do it here tonight. Alongside him is former Split 2 champion Todd Duggan of Nova Sim Sports starting out of P12. We then move down to Trent Bennett starting at a P13 alongside, I believe, a debutant into the vets this season. He'll start alongside Jamie Peters in P14. Stephen Kennedy will then start at a P15 in behind them, with Reese DeGoey starting at a P16 in behind. So 2 of the M1 boys into Split 2 this season. Both Kennedy and Crosby will be looking to work together here tonight. Troy Sipple and Halil Cesar will start at a P17 and 18 in behind, with Simon Heddersheet and Stacey Boyd starting at a P19 and P20 respectively. We then move down to Steve Lanyon and Peter Vermey, with John Gallen and Brian Minogue in behind them, making up our top 24. Who have we got running in behind them, Scotty, from 25th downwards?
Yeah, we got Glenn Corbett from Hyper Sim Racing, Will Munro in P26 from Simrigs Infinity Motorsports, Brett Taylor P7 Valve Esports, Daniel Norris in Quantum Pecky's Racing. Good to see a few Pecky's cars getting around. P29 is Marty Hansen. He's back in the EWR GMK Logistics car. Marty Howard will line up beside him in Velocity Racing Team. 31 is Shane Randell, Simrigs Infinity Motorsport. Matty McMillan from WKP is in P32. Mario Real Hypersonic Racing is P33. Mick Clifton, we spoke about briefly, making his debut into Split 2 Accelerate Sim Racing, P34. Matthew Monday, Fishy Motorsports. And Mark Howen, his teammate with Mick Clifton in P36. Coming into P37 is Richard Barella, know him quite well from WK and Sim Sports. Wayne Shepherd, Simrigs Infinity Motorsport will line up beside him, P38. Matt Stoyles, EWR GMK Logistics in P39. Dave Arney, Pacific Esports Racing. Be good to see how the Penguin or the Duck or whatever they're running this season will go out there in P40. Jason DeBito, Hypersonic Sim Racing over at P41. Scotty Weston, the GMK Logistics cars. There's a few of them on the grid tonight in P42. And we have Todd Markin.
Just quickly, we're getting started here just quickly. we kind of, we went a little bit too slow there, unfortunately, but we are getting going here. Season 19, let's go racing. Caperonis gets a good start off the line as we come through turn 2 for the first time. Up in our Parramatta Isuzu blimp now, we can see them all making their way around. They're looking nice and tidy at the moment, but hopefully they can keep this together here across lap number 1. But Caperonis, what a jump he's had here off the start as they make their way through turn 4.
Yeah, he's got a great, nice jump out in the front here. He gets to control the race from here. The guys in P2 and 3, they'll be able to push on. There's a WKP car, Hoffy. I wonder whether he'll go into fuel-saving mode now that he's got a good start. Looks like they've all got off the grid pretty well, Hamish, and nice clean start on this halfway through this first lap.
Yeah, as we come up towards the illustrious corkscrew for the first time, we'll get a good look at how they run through here into this corner as they make their way through. Caperonis, of course, he leads them through as they come through for the very first time. Hopefully they can keep it nice and clean here on lap number 1. Let's see just all the drivers trying to make their way through now. I thought there might have been a car running wide, but there's contact there with Howard. And I believe that was Corbett involved as well. And that's a massive pile-up right in front of our cameras just there. Not
There's
what you want to see here.
2 cars around, Hamish. 3.
Oh, that could be safety car very early on already into proceedings here for this season. Mark Howard, Hemi damage on that Velocity Racing Team car. A return to the series after a season off last season. Matt Stalls was involved. Craig Healy makes his way around. Marty Hansen too. A couple of East-West Racing cars out there. Matthew Monday missing the rear wing after returning from Split 3 last season. Matty McMillan's out there. Mario Reale too. Oh, it's already heavy contact. It's already gone off here early on in proceedings here tonight, Scotty.
Yeah, this is going to change the strategy for these guys. They're going to try and get around, finish lap 2, get in, get their pit stop, get their fast pair done, go on an alternative strategy to the end and get that car repaired.
See Caperonis, though, under all sorts of pressure here from Parker in behind, but there's been an incident in behind involving Brett Taylor. He's had an incident. He's now missing that rear wing. So a couple of ZB crewmen's already rolling around here for season 19. Hopefully he can have a good run. He's had a good run so far this season in SRW, Scotty, getting a couple of podiums and, in fact, his first ever league win in a supercar as well. So hopefully Brett can step up to the plate and do well here in Vets this season.
Yeah, SRW is a great, interesting lead, a good feeder series for the Vets, or as well as to be able to race on an alternative night. But yeah, he's got to go get that car fixed. So it's there's a bit going on early on, and there's a few cars going slow. Who's this here going a little bit slower? Stacey Boyd. Not sure whether he just got offline and just gathering himself together, got his thoughts together, and he now is seems to got himself back underway and pushing forward again.
You see here Parker just putting all sorts of pressure over Caperonis once again. How long could it be till Parker tries to go for a move here as he come through turn 4 once again? And we know that he is a strategic player in terms of racing and driving. We know that he will wait for the moment. He'll wait to strike like a coiled snake, just trying to get this move done. But he'll be patient here, Scotty, and as mentioned, he'll wait for that right moment. He's the kind of driver that if you leave the door cracked, he'll kick it in, but if you close it, well, he won't go for it just yet.
Yeah, well, these two cars, they've stepped away from third place a little bit. They've built that gap up of over a second. So if I was Matty Parker at this stage, I'd be thinking about just lifting a little bit early, saving a little bit of fuel. We've got the 2 compulsory pit stops, so there's plenty of time in this race to evolve. It's plenty of time to get a little bit of fuel saved, maybe do the jump in the first or second pit stop. But they're both setting a cracking pace at this moment, and he's tucked up right behind there. So, yeah, kudos to both of them. And Jim Caperonis, geez, he has started to come alive. He was right on the cusp of being in Split 1 this season. Yeah,
he's, I don't know what it is about him. He's kind of been named the Houdini of Split 2 after magically disappearing at the door to the Shadow Realm at Watkins Glen, going from P12 down to P40 in the process. But somehow now he's pulled some more magic out and found some pace in this car, which is really, really good to see. So he's kind of all worked it around and given us some sparkle out of his car a little bit. So hopefully he can continue this run throughout the season and just have a nice, strong run for the Old Mate and Sons crew. And you know what? Even maybe challenge for a top 3 in this championship, possibly, if he can hold it together throughout the whole proceedings of this championship.
He's definitely capable of being right at the pointy end in the championships. And like you say, consistency is the key. It's a long way. We've got 10 rounds, 2 drop rounds. Must complete the final round if you want to be a championship contender this year. That is a priority. You have to do that final round. But at the moment, these guys are looking very smooth. Those cars, there's not too much oversteer, there's not too much understeer going on, and both Jimmy and Matty have got this cars really dialed into this track. So yeah, coming up on the lap cars too, I wonder how this will affect them and whether they'll just use it to their advantage and whether the blue flags are going to be shown and where they're going to let them through. This will be interesting how it plays out.
Well, this is kind of the question, isn't it? Early on in this race already, copping those blue flags will not be doing Mark any favours here out of P45, but he'll be just hoping to survive. At this point, there's been an incident in the background, and Wayne Shepherd's been spun round out at the corkscrew. There's massive damage to the Simbriggs Infinity Motorsports entry, so he'll now have to trundle into the lane and hopefully try and get back out there after using a fast repair here if he hasn't used it already, and just try and continue this run throughout this race.
There's not much left of that car, is there?
There's not.
It's looking like something that might be down the wreckers, and he's gone past pit lane. He hasn't come in.
Oh, very interesting. Maybe he's waiting another lap or two to get to maybe a critical lap in his strategy to know that he's not going to be hindered too much. Reese makes a good point in the chat. One of the new rules this season, 2 drop rounds this season as well, Scotty. So that means it opens it up a little bit for drivers who may not be able to make every single race this season.
Or if you have 2 shockers. The inside here.
Oh, there's been contact as well, and Caperonis has been balked off on the right-hand side. Needs to be careful of the rejoin, of course. Slots it in behind his teammate Gary Buckland and ahead of his other teammate Stephen Greck. as they continue on now in a nice little Old Mate and Sons triple cheeseburger effect here, of course, sponsored by the Chubby Buns, but Parker now just trying to readdress that position as well, so he's just trying to get back there and let Jim back past.
Yeah, that's fair play. That is redress it now. There may still be a penalty come involved in that because there has been overtakes by Hoffman, who now leads with Buckland in P2, but really unfortunate incident, and he went for it. It is an overtaking opportunity up the top there. Didn't quite get it right, unfortunately, but yeah, it looks like he's allowed for the redress to happen here.
As they come through turn 3, there's the lap car of Mark Howard. There is Andrew Hoffman leading the way of this little battle at the moment as we wait for them to come through in turn 4 too. So we'll have to wait and see here how they're going to try and attack this sort of race now early on. A couple of incidents already, nothing too egregious at this point. No safety cars just yet as well, Scotty. So I think everyone just trying to get back in their groove and just kind of mentally prepare for what's to come over the next 30-odd laps.
Yeah, a long way still to go, Hamish. And was that a car off onto the left-hand side there, talking of safety cars? I'm not sure whether that one's still moving, but yeah, it is a long way to go. Hoffman is under quite a bit of pressure here from Gary. I don't think Hoffman will be in fuel saver mode now. He'll be putting that foot down, trying to see if he's got the pace to clear Gary. Matty Parker's got up on the back of him, and I don't think Jim will be too far away either. He was lucky they got away with that incident without too much damage. So yeah, long way to go. These guys will be at least trying to get to lap 14 or so, you know, if they were to split this these tyres a little bit to maximise it. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But Hoff doing a good job up the front now, running 24.6 on the last lap.
Yeah, he'll just be trying here just to keep him off at this stage. That looked like, though, on the inside, that was Buckland trying to get it done. He's going to try and run it up the inside now at 4. This could be a good run from him. Parker wants to get through the door as well. There's a little door knock from him. Hoffy runs it wide. Just some hard, fast racing there. Now Buckland leads the way.
Yeah, first back to 4th. He's going to lose another one here to Fox or Gritch, is it? Sorry, Gritch. He's run a little bit wide, and Hoffy's got it back. Same as Jim. He didn't quite get off that turn 6 very well. Turn 5, going up into turn 6. So yeah, he's got it back under control now. They've got back into single file, but gee whiz, that escalated very quickly, Hamish.
I mean, this is just one of those tracks, isn't it, where one little mistake can escalate massively, but Caparonis is off at the corkscrew, spins it round. This is going to drop him outside the 10. Needs to be careful on the rejoin, of course. He's going to have to wait here for the majority of the field to come past him for when he can get back on, but that could be victory done and dusted here tonight so early on, but he will be hoping for some major incidents up the front if he wants to get back there.
Yeah, that really hurts. The cars are so close together, he's in a real bad position. He just couldn't get that car turned without getting on the track and causing another incident. So, but good awareness by Jim to recognise that. A lot of drivers might have just got a little bit hot under the collar and floored it and come back on the track. But yeah, he waited, a very patient man there. So very unfortunate, but that's racing, I guess. That's what happens sometimes.
You see now Ed Fox, he started out of P2, dropped down the order early on here, but he'll just be trying to make his way back up the order, up towards the front. He's in behind Hoffy right now, got Grekel over the back of him. Crosby, though, he's down 2 spots off the start too, so a couple of boys have dropped down a little bit, but a couple others have really risen up. Most positions gained in this race so far goes to Jason Dibattito. He's up 15. There was one of the Quantum Peaks Performance cars in the background going off, as well as Russell Gander on debut here tonight. He's up 15 spots as well, so it's good to see a couple of boys really taking advantage of these incidents happening out on track and just trying to keep it clean and just pick up the crumbs anywhere they can around the dinner plate.
Yeah, Russell's he's got the whole track to himself at the moment, but yeah, he's up a few positions. P31, he'll just consolidate there. He'll be happy with the improvement that he's made. It's he's obviously not with a team at the moment, Hamish, so maybe he might be on the lookout for one to get a nice flash-looking livery with some sponsors on it for him to run around.
I believe he's with Apex Esports League. I've seen him in my chat sometimes supporting other drivers in that team. If anyone's seen the SRW broadcast, supporting the likes of Mark Cochran or Stephanie Piccoli. So I do believe he's a part of that team, but not running their usual colours of the silver base here tonight. So maybe they'll try and get get a nice little livery onto that car for Russell, or as he's affectionately known, Rusty. So we'll have to wait and see how he can do this season, though. Scotty Weston's now at 15 spots as well. They've got a change of spec map on that car here tonight. He was making adjustments. He was actually messaging me on Discord today, be like, oh, I look forward to the broadcast tonight just to see how my spec map looks that I've adjusted ever since Tuesday. So we'll have to, hopefully this has given him a good view of it to see what he needs to change, or if his changes have worked here tonight. He's all over the back of Richard Barella at the moment as they make their way through turn 4.
Yeah, there's no subtlety in make sure you get us on the broadcast there, Hamish, was there in that message?
No, there wasn't. Not at all.
It is looking very nice, and that silver and the orange and the blue with that metallic base to it, that is glowing, and it's a beautiful looking livery. They've done a good job over there for season 19, these guys over at GMK. Yeah,
one of the things I noticed as well, specifically when I was in Perth last year, was I saw a GMK Logistics truck, and their cars look exactly the same as the trucks do when they had the white base on them. They looked almost identical, and I thought, what a great way to do your livery. Just look exactly like the Transporters. We've got Daniel Norris off the side of the track there as well. He's just struggling at the moment down in P46. Could be a night to forget for him, possibly even a drop round for him this early on as well. But up the front, we've still got Buckland leading the way to Matty Parker, to Andrew Hoffman. That's the top 3. Then Fox and Grech make up the 5. Crosby, Grumley, Duggan, Bennett, and Sipple, although Peters is in there actually making up the 10. But Peters struggling with some dropout issues at the moment.
I've been watching this front evolve here, and Gary's done very well to maintain that gap to Matty Parker, while both of those two cars are checking out from Hoffy at the moment. They've, so they're having a really good drive at the moment. Some fresh air, clean air in front of you on this track is actually quite important. Gives you that front end grip. You don't feel it go away as much. So yeah, he's utilising it very well, and Parker's going with him. So yeah, a little bit of and then that 3-odd second gap back to Hoffy, and then Fox and Gretsch, Crosby, Grumley, they're all in the mix there.
So we have actually an update. The Rusty is actually a privateer, so he was just out there supporting Apex apparently as a friend and a supporter. So if there is a team out there, keep an eye on Rusty to see how he goes this season, and maybe he's going to get picked up before we even know it. But we'll have to wait and see how he does at this stage too. But yeah, Buckland and Parker, they are on the absolute move. Buckland, he's becoming less of a silent assassin now. He's more or less, he's put a loudener on his little pistol that he keeps in his pocket, because he's pulling out great performances week in and week out. And even though he makes up those positions sneakily, he is always up the front. Whenever we check on him, he's like, oh, he's actually doing well here tonight as usual. So, but it is good to see. Hoffy, though, on return, P3 at the moment. He'll be looking just for a consistent return to form here tonight, wouldn't you say, Scotty?
Yeah, he would be. I know he was itching by about round 4 last season. He wanted to get back in the V8 supercars. He probably just wasn't getting enough lap time in the Merc there as a safety car. So, yeah, Hoffy's very keen to do well this season. And, you know, sitting in P3, he's going about it quite well. He's doing what he needs to do. He knows it's a long way ahead. He knows potential as safety cars. So, yeah, he's a keen driver, and back from Split 1. He has been a Split 1 driver, Hamish, and has had some mixed results in Split 1. But, yeah, Split 2. P3 at the moment. Going well, Hoff.
Yeah, he's almost one of those drivers that he would be in that Split 1.5, wouldn't he? He would be, he's highly competitive in Split 2, but he also has his moments in Split 1 where he does well too. He's kind of in that in-between. He's bridging the gap between Split 1 and Split 2, like most of the other drivers are, who kind of go back and forth between each split season after season, or every 2 seasons, or however long they do it for. But he's a consistent driver, and again, when he's on, he is absolutely phenomenal. And that's what he'd be hoping for here tonight. He'd be hoping the switch is turned on and the lights are on, and just trying to get a good start to this season and not have to use a drop round this early on, like it apparently is looking like about 10 of the cars already are here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd see Troy Sipple, he's in pit lane. So one of our first of the main runner pit stops starting to happen here from Quanti Pecky's performance. So yeah, he's decided to get in early. Maybe he felt he was getting held up. And he could make better time, you know, going for that undercut. And hopefully he's got some clear track ahead of him now to utilise those fresh tyres.
Makes his way out of the lane. This can be quite a tough pit lane exit, Scotty. If you carry too much speed, you can easily run it wide and actually onto the track, and not only get an improper exit of the pits, but also actually hit someone if you're not careful too. So it's very important that the drivers can not only maximise their pit exit, but make sure they keep it nice and safe through that exit there, out the exit of turn 2.
I'm 100% guilty as charged with that, Hamish.
So am I.
I've come down that pit lane really trying to see how much I could push it, and absolutely straight across the sand onto the track, and gathered it back up and off I go. But yeah, you're 100% right, mate. It is a tricky one. Sometimes even going back to first gear as you're going around that left-hander, coming out of pit lane can help, to just pull it up while you've got cold tyres.
You see here, Buckland still trying to hold off Matty Parker up the front. Couple of drivers swapping and changing positions at the moment in the background. Fox has got Darren Crosby all over the back of him at the moment. Darren's teammate Stephen Kennedy here at the back of Halil Cesar, who makes a return to the series after a season off. So he'll be hoping to maximise what he could do in season 17, where he got into the top 8 of the championship and was in that championship fight all up until the final round out at Road America. So he'll be hoping for a nice, clean and consistent season as well.
Yeah, with both the M1 cars in Split 2 now, that'll be really interesting to see how they go and they work together. So, yeah, I'd be watching them. I think they're a team on the rise. I think a little bit of confidence here in Split 2 for both of those drivers will do them a world of good. And I think we'll see them push forward throughout the season. I mean, currently sitting at P6 now and P11. So it's a good showing, really good showing by the M1 drivers.
Well, I think as well, the drivers sometimes in the room as well, the consistent finishes are sometimes better than the, having a top finish and then a poor finish, then a top finish, then a poor finish, because you're consistently getting points, and you can actually find that you're sometimes in a better position at the end of the season. I think back to the kind of the little battle for the rest of the 10 that we had for those 10 drivers who would be guaranteed to remain in Split 2 for this season coming into it. In that last round, there was about 5 drivers who were in it, and it was because they were all consistent throughout the season. And it was just kind of the pure survival on the night of racing between Matty Parker and Will Munro, who clinched those 2 final spots to then say, hey, we're actually able to stay in Split 2 now because we've got into the rest of the 10 when the top 3 went up.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, the way they're doing the splits. It'll be different next season. Like, Season 20 of Vets is really going to start to evolve, and it's going to matter not only how your fastest lap times, it's going to matter what you're doing on track. And I know from my point of view, Hamish, I'd always prefer to drive around drivers that are more consistent. Like, not always the fastest drivers are consistent in a race and or have as good as Racecraft as someone who consistently can set the same amount of lap times, with a nice gradual drop-off, and they'll make places. So I'd rather race with guys that are consistent rather than have one lap pace.
Yeah, I think, and that's sometimes something that it really hinders drivers sometimes, isn't it? When they've got the 1 lap pace, but they don't have the consistency to do those laps or around those laps throughout a whole race period. That's where you can see them start to hurt. So they could have a fantastic qualifying, but a poor run in the race because they can't do it consistently over, 5 up to 42 laps, because they will make a mistake or their lap times will drop off after a while. So, that's kind of the one thing that drivers need to, I think, work on going forward, is getting that consistency down, doing those race runs more than those quali runs. Because, yes, qualifying is important, but at the end of the day, you don't get points for qualifying, you get points for your race, and it matters where you finish in the race, not in qualifying.
Well, it does. To finish first, you've got to finish. And, it does matter immensely about your racecraft, your strategy, putting those consistent times together, being within 2 or 3 tenths of once the tyres have dropped off, being within that lap after lap after lap. That's when you'll see those drivers rise to the top. They're the ones who are going to be the championship contenders coming into this season, Hamish.
So we're getting into our pit stop period now, Scotty. We mentioned it was about lap 14. That would be kind of the point where you'd want to come in and start doing your stops. There have been a couple of, movers and shakers throughout this little period of drivers who have come in slightly earlier, or they're trying to go in slightly later. Do you think maybe, what would it kind of be where you're dependent on where you are on track when you actually want to come in? So if you're behind a big group of cars, would you want to come in earlier, or would you want to come in slightly later? To try and take advantage of them battling and them kind of having their little moments on track with you out of their way?
Yeah, it all depends whether you're getting held up. Like, these guys have done enough laps practice. They know what their average lap time should be. It will depend on whether they're comfortable saving fuel, because you can save a little bit. We've talked about that already. There is a bit to save around here when you're in that group. But if you're getting held up, yeah, it's time to get that undercut, get a different track position, maybe get that jump and push on for that middle stint, because that middle stint's really important. That's somewhere where you can either make or break a race by just drifting out of it, just drifting off the zone and not concentrating enough. Or if you're in it and you're really pushing, you can make up a ton of ground then. So, but for me, I think Gary is doing the right thing up the front there. Matty Parker's just come into pit now, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out on track. But I think Gary's got the right idea here. If I was up in the front group and I was going well with like Crosby and Buckland are doing, I would keep going. I'd run it almost all the way to the whole 50 litres down and come in for another 50 litres thereabouts, mate.
Well, the last time we raced here, Scotty, was in fact the first time that Gary Buckland ever actually got a win. It's his only win to this point in Split 2, and it was back in season 17, so he'll be looking to back up that performance. The last time we raced around here 2 seasons ago, and just try and continue that run here out at this track. He's in P1 at the moment. He's trying to take advantage of anything he can, whether it's traffic or whether it's clean air, just to try and spread the gap back to Matty Parker. He currently sits P10 on the road, but he is provisional P2 at the moment. The only driver in the top 5 to pit thus far. The other drivers, Robert Crow, Peter Vermey, Halil Caesar, and the leader, Gary Buckland, still need to come in the lane for their first of their 2 compulsory pit stops here tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I think we'll see Matty Parker. He's gone for the undercut on Gary here. He said, well, hey, I think I've got the pace. I'm going for the undercut. That's why he's come in early. It'll be really interesting. I'd expect Gary to come in the next lap or 2. He must be getting low on fuel. About 17 laps was, maybe 18 laps was your sort of max fuel burn with 50 litres. And as we talk about, here he comes in now. So this is going to be really interesting, Hamish. This is where it's going to light up for that middle stint.
Well, so Matty Parker's pit lane travel time was 1 minute and 2 seconds. His pit stop time was a 20.43. So where will Buckland come out compared to this man? Currently being held up here by, I believe it's Shane Randall of the Simrigs Infinity Motorsport team. No, it's not actually. I should know who my own drivers are. It's in fact, you know what? I can't even see it properly. And then, it's Robbie. It's Robert Crow. You know what? I'm used to seeing Robert race a Commodore that many times that it really screws in my brain whenever I see him in a Mustang, and I automatically think of one of my 3 drivers that always drive Mustangs. I don't know why.
Robert Crow's one of those ones who has improved. Like, I remember being in a team with Robert over at Delta Force Racing with Zippy Fly, Adrian Zill there, and Robert's improved immensely since he's come to Vets and doing really well. I know he had a little bit of problems there with the knee. Had some work done on that, but yeah, he's come back. He's looking strong.
Oh, I don't want to take too much credit for that, but we do feel like he got better when he joined our team. But maybe the viewers are better to describe that one. But Buckland has now come out behind Matty Parker, as well as Steve Grumley, who tries to sneak his way up towards the front of this field. He now sits P2. Matty Parker leads the way after the pit stop period. But yeah, Buckland, I mean, he had a slightly longer stop. It was 26.13 seconds compared to the 19.35. That was the pit stop time for Grumley, and the 20.43 for Parker. For the lane travel time, in fact, he was 5 seconds slower than Parker and 7 seconds slower to Grumley. So that's where the time's been made up. But we will see, you know, it'll adjust if he can stay with him. Buckland will be on the betterment of it come the second stop, because he'll have the shorter stop and he'll actually gain the time back in that pit stop. But he cannot give up track pace or track time to Buckland or Parker during this period. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. The pit lane times and the amount of fuel that they've taken on board here. So I'd imagine if I was Buckland, he does need to push on in this stint. But if Grumley's got a lighter car, and there was an instance of this last night in Split 1, Hamish, and we had our pit stops, exactly the same thing, middle stint. I put on more fuel than Nishiki, and Nishiki come out with a light fuel, and I just had to sit behind him for that whole stint and save a little bit of fuel. And it can pay dividends if you do that, as long as Grumley is running a good pace. Like if he's setting a good time that's matching or very similar to Parker, Buckland can benefit from it. but it takes a little bit of work and a lot of patience.
Yeah, I think, and it's the same with whenever you try and go for an undercut. Undercuts work really well when you have the pace over the competitors that are battling ahead of you. It's also one of the reasons why we kind of mentioned that undercuts don't really work on laps where the lap time's over 2 minutes long, because it's quite hard to get the undercut done there. But when they're under 2 minutes, it's a lot easier to do. But again, you've got to have that lap pace over your competitors to gain the time back that you've now lost by coming into the pits. So it's kind of a one way, which way or the other sort of deal, where you got to really balance that. And it is a balancing act. As we know, Vets is, it's a complete balancing act. And getting anything, even a minute amount out of balance, can really hinder your race and really hurt your chances of gaining anything over your competitors out on track.
Yeah, there is. And if a safety car does happen to come through, then this will put Buckland right back into it, because he's taken on more fuel. He'll be able to jump Grumley in the pit stops. Everyone will come back in for the second pit stop. So, Matty Parker's in the prime position here. He is actually itching out a few tenths here and there now. But, Buckland, you just got to be patient here. You've really got to, lift and coast. There's a good opportunity as you come into turn 5 over here to get off the throttle a little bit, save a little bit of fuel instead of getting it on the limiter, and just on the acceleration points, just smoothly apply that throttle instead of slamming it down, and that will save you fuel over a stint. Like, you'd be surprised how much. There might be a second or two within your pit stop.
Yep, those maximising of exits is really, really crucial in these cars, isn't it? And when we say maximising exits, it is the smooth inputs, the smooth steering, the smooth braking, the smooth throttle, but also running the preferred line. One of the biggest examples is turn 4 at Silverstone. You run the shallow line, really hinders your exit, and then you'll run down the straight. Or if you take the regular line, you have a nice run down the straight. Now, when you're in a battle with someone, sometimes it's better just to give up the slightest little bit of on-track positioning to take the regular line over the shallow line, so you actually don't lose up more time in the long run when battling with an adversary ahead of you.
Yeah, it is. These cars love to be straight. He's going to put it down the inside here. No, thought better of it. And Grumley just did close that door, seen him coming and said, no, I'll protect that line for now. But I thought Gary was going to get that job done there. I thought he was going to send it.
So halfway through the race now, we'll quickly give our little run through of the field. Matty Stoyles is currently our final runner on track, P46 on the road at the moment for East West Racing, GMK Logistics. He's currently trying to run up onto the back of Matty Monday and put some pressure on him here throughout the second half of this race. Mark Howard on return to the series. He's unfortunately running a lap down and in P44, so not the start he would want here on return into Split 2. Mario Reali up a bit further from him in P33 with Mark Peck just up the road from him. So quite a few cars that are a lap down in amongst the traffic at the moment and in amongst the majority of the pack here, so they're actually quite spread out at this stage. Marty Hansen, he's a bit further up the road down at turn 11 at the moment, with American Stacey Boyd on home soil here, really struggling out in P40 at this stage. Brett Taylor's then just up the road from him. I've seen some really nice rising moments from Brett, but he is struggling here tonight, unfortunately for him. He's trying to chase down Dave Arney just ahead of him at the moment. The chopper man out there, he did fly in for us and land that chopper for us here tonight, so I know he's in the chat, and he'll be hoping just to have a better run so far throughout the rest of proceedings. Michael Power on return into Split 2. He's just kind of leading this little battle pack as he runs it slightly wide through 4. He'll just be trying to, again, really just mitigate those mistakes and just try and keep it clean here on towards the checkered flag. Craig Healy a bit further up the road from them, up through turn 6 in behind Richard Barella as they come up towards the corkscrew. Wayne Shepherd still running with that micro stang at the moment. I reckon he's already used that fast repair in that first lap incident. That's why he's still running around with that massive amount of damage. Jim Caparonis, well, what could have been for him here tonight? He runs around in P33 at the moment. He started P1. It'll be a night to forget for him here tonight. Russell Gander on debut. Ahead of him, he's up 14 positions in P32 at the moment. Matty McMillan, he's doing pretty well so far. Toddy Martin as well with Mark Houghton up the road from him as we come into the top 30 cars with Glenn Corbett just up from him. Will Munro running in the top 30 at the moment. He started one spot up from where he is currently on the road in P26. Unfortunately, he took too much fuel in his pit stop, so now that might hinder his strategy a little bit coming in towards the end of this race. His teammate Robert Crow leads him along in P26 at the moment, and then Mick Clifton is making up our top 25 on the road at this stage with Scotty Weston up from him, Jason DiBattito, Peter Verme, Trent Bennett and Shane Randall making up the top 20. Then we got Reese to go just up from them. Brandon Zatira as well. John Gallen. Brian Minogue leads this little battle. New colours on that car as well. Nice to see some new colours on some of the cars out there here tonight. Really making the series feel like more of a professional outfit than seasons past, I've noticed. But it's really, really good to see. Hedashi just up from that little battle pack as well. Latham, he's just up the road from them, in behind Stephen Kennedy. Troy Sipple P12 at the moment. Jamie Peters still struggling with dropout issues with Darren Crosby in behind him. And then Halil Cesar inside the 10 and P9 with Andrew Hoffman in front of him. Steve Lanyon just up the road from them with Stephen Greck, Ed Fox, Todd Duggan. Then our top three is Gary Buckland, Steve Grumley, and Matty Parker. And I'm just going to put a little veto out there. With 46 cars, we are not doing a full run through of the grid anytime soon again. I'm just going to put that out there because that takes so long.
And you've done well there, Hamish. Have a drink of water, mate. You'd have some dry throat from that one. But yeah, very well done, mate. Very well done to get through that amount of grid. And there has been a lot of talk, even in the chat tonight here on YouTube. And thanks for everyone for joining. Don't forget to give it a like, support this stream. But yeah, there's been a lot of chat, Hamish, about the size of the grids and how tough it is. So the drivers are finding it a little bit more difficult, maybe having that little bit more trouble on getting that that track position that they'd like or perhaps used to in previous seasons.
What I think this will now give is it will make it more beneficial for drivers to try and keep it clean and consistent. Because previously when we've had smaller grids, say of 25 to 30 cars, you're not losing that many points to your adversaries. If you make a mistake, you end up in P30. But tonight, if you make a mistake, you end up in P46. Like, that's a lot of points to lose compared to P1. Like, it is so much. I believe it's 89. Oh, it's a bit less than that. I think it's about 83 or 81 points available for last place here tonight compared to the 181 that you get for P1, plus then also the extras of leading most laps and getting the fastest lap, etc., etc. So there's a lot of points that you can lose out there in a race like this with this many cars out on track. It's great to see so many cars on track, but it should mean that drivers need to keep it in the back of their minds that consistency more than ever is key here tonight.
It's a really good point you raised, and I hadn't actually put much thought into it, but with those extra cars on track, those small mistakes that you have where you might generally lose 1 or 2 positions, they now become 3, 4 positions you might lose and then struggle to get back onto the racing line for a couple of corners and get yourself back into position. So yeah, it is important, more important than ever, to have that consistency. Just not that hot lap pace that we were talking about earlier. You want to have that race pace, that race consistency, know what your tyres are doing over the stint and how the drop off of fuel changes the balance of the vehicle and how it raises the rear of the vehicle. And is there any more throttle oversteer, understeer happening as the tyres wear? So yeah, there's a lot of work for these drivers to do. And you know, at the moment they're doing very well. I mean, Matty Parker, he's out. He's built a decent sized gap here. I was looking at his times earlier, and he had 2-3 tenths over Grumley. So yeah, he's going about it. It's all for his at the moment. We're not to our second pit stop, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
So as we make our way up, we are lap 25 of 42. No safety cars just yet in this one. I believe we had, I want to say we only had 1 safety car last time we raced here 2 seasons ago. At maximum, I think we had 2. I'm not 100% sure on it, but it's a race that can really bring out some issues here at this track. Speaking of issues, Jamie Peters has had an incident down at turn 10, and the blinking issues are continuing for him, and I reckon that's led to an incident with another car out on track here, Scotty. And that's one thing that we know can be a struggle for other drivers, is trying to follow someone with a poor connection on their internet, and that's them blinking, and suddenly, you know, they're just in front of you. We saw it happen at Mugello in Split 2, namely, I think it was lap 2 or lap 3. There was about 4 cars that collected a car that was disappearing, and all hell broke loose.
Yeah, when you do have that blinking car in front of you, it's a bit like having stutters as well with your game. It's very distracting, very hard to keep focus, keep the consistency up. So yeah, Jamie's had some issues there, and Darren Crosby, he was doing very well behind him, as I was noticing the timings flicking with Jamie and himself backwards and forwards. So yeah, Darren done well to be able to handle that situation. Jamie won't be happy about that. He lives in a fantastic place of the world over at Rye down here in just outside of Melbourne. So yeah, he'll be talking to his good mate Zippy about how he can improve his connections, as they're not far from being neighbours, mate.
Well, mate, when I see Zippy tomorrow, I'm going to mention how upset I am that Jamie did not make the trip with him over towards my local area. In fact, Jamie's instead watching the Grand Prix at a barbecue. So really poor form from my team's driver of Jamie there not to come for lunch with me and my dad, when Zippy, who's in a completely other team from us, is coming for lunch, and they literally live next door to each other. So it's, poor form. But hopefully he can get that. So maybe that's his karma, having the poor internet connection this week, for him not coming for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, it depends who's holidaying down in Rye, mate. It does get quite busy for them down through the the holiday period, and yeah, the internet does suffer. Now, I'll be seeing you tomorrow too, Hamish. I'll be coming down there. Yes, I don't know whether you're aware. So, any of those guys, girls out there watching tonight, if you're down there, it's open to all vets, isn't it? For a bit of a catch up.
The Cooey-Rupp Royal Hotel. So if you're down towards Cooey-Rupp in the sort of East Gippsland area, then come down, have a beer with us, have a feed if you want to, and have a laugh as well. We'll be sure to have many conversations about sim racing or real racing or whatever floats your boat as well. So more than welcome to join us down there at the Cooey-Rupp Royal.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I even had a look at the menu. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how it goes. But, yeah, looking forward to catch up. Make sure you head down there. So, at this stage, there's 4 of us. Hopefully, we get a couple more jump in. But how's this race evolving? Who do you think's in a good position here, Hamish? Given the pit stops, we've got another pit stop to go. People might be thinking of it early, like, where would you imagine, if you were in this race, where you'd come in for that final pit stop? Would it be from now to lap 32? Maybe give yourself 10 on the fresh tyres, a lighter car, 35 litres odd to get to the end of the race? Or would you look for an undercut and try and get an extra position or 2 that way?
So my thought process is, if I've got cars that I know I'm faster than ahead of me and they're battling, I will go for the undercut 9 times out of 10. Right, I'll jump in as soon as I can, get out of their way, get into some fresh air, and then just cut laps and get my head down and hope that my lap pace is going to be enough to get past them at the end of their pit stop. Obviously, some people go through the mindset of, I'll wait for a safety car. You're never guaranteed a safety car at the end of the day, just like you're never guaranteed that you're going to need to use your fast repair. So if I was in the beneficial position of, I'm going to have clean air if the car in front of me comes in, then I'd likely stay out and just try and, again, just cut some laps, get some clean air, and just try and push on and try and gain anything I can. Now, if I've had the shorter stop early on, then I'm going to try and go as late as I can on that fuel, just to kind of maximize any advantage I might get from the fuel saving that I could have had by being in those little battle packs, where if you come in slightly earlier, well then, sometimes your fuel can be a little bit iffy on that one. So I would say, if I'm kind of mid-pack, I'd want to try and come in maybe a lap, or, if my adversaries haven't come in, I might say, I'm going to hop in and I'm going to try and get past them. But if I'm ahead of that little battle pack, then I'll probably just try and cut off the undercut as best I can, and maybe come in, spread the gap, maybe lap 28 or 29. Just have a nice run home, but obviously not try and take too much fuel either.
Yeah, well, looks like a couple of guys listen to you right there with Hedgersfield and Lanyon and Fox. They were all came into pit lane, do the second compulsory pit stops. I'm not sure who else has done the second, John, going over in YouTube chat, but yeah, those 3 definitely came in that lap for theirs.
So if we check, which one is it? As Gary Buckland's had a crash out of P2, but I believe it might have just been a minor spin down at turn 2. But he's now dropped about 3 seconds on Grumley up ahead of him. So anything that he would have actually had an advantage of over in the pit stop could be done and dusted at this stage over Grumley, but we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Currently, if we look at, I believe it's this one here, when it has an S on the end, it means they've done more than 1 stop. When it has no S at the end, it means they've done 1. It's sometimes a bit hard to tell. We kind of have to go through when they last pitted, but at this stage, I believe the people who've done stops have done compulsories, other than the ones who maybe got caught out on lap 1 if they came in lap 1, which again, if you didn't get a safety car, Scotty, and if your car was drivable, you might as well wait till lap 2 if you're at the back and at least get a compulsory out of the way in that stop.
Yeah, absolutely, you'd do that. So Matty Parker's come in, going by that. He's got stops next to his name, so he's got a fair bit of clear traffic there. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully he'll make hay of this. absolutely will make hay of this. The rest of the field, I think, is going to start to trigger their main pit stops within the next 3 laps. I wouldn't leave it much past lap 32 to really benefit that those tyres and lighter fuel load to get to the end. But yeah, as we're saying now, Grumley's in, Crosby's in, and Sipple is in pit lane.
So Buckland's now stayed out just to try and gain any time that he may have lost over Steve Grumley from his minor spin down at turn 2. And again, he'll just be trying to get to the end here. I think the driver to watch at this moment in time, it might be a little bit of an outside pick, but he seems to have had some good lap pace throughout this race. I actually think Ed Fox here could be on for a nice finish here tonight if he can take advantage of anything that comes ahead of him on track. He's had a good pit stop last time round. It was only a 14.62 stop, so he's currently on the fastest pit stop at this stage in time, although Troy Sipple's going to beat him to the point there with 10 seconds for a pit stop, but he's ahead of him on track, and that's what's important. He's also ahead of Grek, who's in behind him as well. So this could be a nice little run from him, and if he can catch up to Grumley, who's up the road, he could start to put some pressure on him here and really come into his own. Or if Grumley, and I hate to say it, if he makes a mistake, which he's been known to sometimes in the past, Fox is right in the hot seat to try and take advantage and possibly even pip a podium off him.
Yeah, he's right there. Now, I'm not sure if Reece DeGuy, has he done his second stop? If he has, he's in a prime position. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Grumley and Fox. Fox has been the quieter achiever of this race. We haven't really talked too much about him from the Player One gaming. But yeah, he's been the quiet achiever and going about his business really well, which is what you want to do in a race. You don't want to draw too much attention to yourself.
Exactly. So as it stands in the top 5, Buckland, Cesar, although Kennedy's just come in as well, and DeGoey are yet to do their second compulsory. Parker is now the highest position driver to do their second compulsory stop. Then it's Grumley, and then it is Ed Fox just down the road from him. So it'll be interesting to see where Buckland and Cesar and DeGoey come out after these stops. But Parker being, I believe it's only 22 seconds off the lead of this race, could be in prime position here to take back the lead from Gary Buckland.
Yeah, I think he's got it done. Matty Parker's got this done. He's played his strategy well. He's had the benefit of having that clear track. Unfortunately, Gary's, he had that little bit of a half spin down there at turn 2, which did compromise him. But he's still going all right, and Grumley's right in this too. He's looking good. Got his second stop done, although he is a fair way behind, so he won't challenge Parker. But it'll be interesting to see if Buckland can make this time back up on Grumley. And Buckland's gone long here. He's gone long, Hamish. So
yeah, he has. I recall last time he actually won here, he went quite long on his final stint prior to the final stop, that sort of middle stint. And that's what actually gave him an advantage when he come out of the pits. All of a sudden, he was still in front because he'd gone for so long, and he was able to get those consistent times in, whilst the likes of P2 back, tonight we use the example of Matty Parker and Steve Grumley, whilst they were battling and dealing with traffic, he was just able to trundle on and just spread that gap out over those. I think he went 10 laps more than the other competitors. And again, it just gave him the advantage over the field. He was able to take slightly less fuel because he was slightly closer to the end. And again, it just helped him gain that track position and maintain it as well after those pit stops, which was really, really good to see.
Yeah, interesting, because Grumley just put in pretty much a flat 23 there, and I noticed Buckland was at a 24.2 or 24.5 last lap. So he's losing a lot of ground at the moment. But like you said, if there is a safety car right now, then that falls into Buckland's hands, because he could sit there and put in a lot less fuel, clutch it all the way behind that safety car, and make that fuel back up there.
So what we will do, ladies and gentlemen, is we will take a quick ad break here as we come into the final 10 laps of running. We'll be back very, very soon after this quick little ad. Don't go anywhere. Great to be back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of, my dad calls it it's not so appropriate for this time of the night, but it's sim racing and then the word starts with P right after it. But Racecraft bringing us all the action here for V8 Vets, of course the title sponsor of the series. Matty Parker still runs P2 with Gary Buckland out in P1. He's still yet to come in for his second compulsory stop. Steve Grumley P3 on the road at the moment. Ed Fox in P4, just being that little silent assassin like we mentioned. Then Stephen Grech is making up the top 5 at this stage in the running. Now, with Buckland going so long here, Scotty, do you reckon he is getting much of an advantage out of this little run that he's having?
I think about now, as the tyres wear for Parker and Grumley, it does even up a little bit. He is on a lot lighter fuel, so it does come back to you. The car does, on this track especially, does come back to you a little bit, even with the worn tyres. The tyres here are good for 22 odd laps before you really notice a second drop off. So it may play in his hands if he keeps it consistent, although it's one of those things that if he doesn't get it right, he's going to find himself out of the podium positions, mate.
Yeah, exactly right. So, and again, he doesn't want to go too long where his tyres are really going off the edge. I mean, obviously tyres come back after a little while, but he doesn't want to be pushing it too far. That's one thing to remember too, is if you go too long, sometimes your tyres get into that real area of they feel like they just feel absolutely atrocious. And the other drivers are on fresher tyres, so they're still able to gain time over you. So again, it comes back to that balancing act of figuring out, well, when are my tyres going to go off, and where am I going to get the advantage of going longer, and finding out, well, which lap am I going to get the most benefit out of it for me to come in, change those tyres, and still have that benefit over the rest of the field. So be interesting to see how it plays out. Less than 10 laps to go at this stage in time. Lap 35 of 42. No safety cars here tonight. We're only 2 laps away from none being run at all here in Season 19 for Split 2 so far.
Yeah, it's been a good showing. No safety cars. Always love to see a race without safety cars. It may have thrown a pigeon under the ball if we had one, but it looks like we're not going to get one at the moment. So Grumley with a little bit of a locked front right tyre there. He's obviously pushing on. He wants to make ground. He's got some lap traffic cars in front of him. Hopefully that won't hinder his charge to keep that gap away from Ed Fox and Simon Grech behind him, knowing Gary Buckland's going to be around there somewhere when he does pit. So yeah, he's looking pretty good. Who else is looking good at the moment? Probably the closest battle on track at the moment is Crosby, Lanyon and Kennedy. They're right up there. So yeah, Lanyon's another one we haven't spoken about too much. Hamish?
Yeah, he's come up from Split 3 this season. He's struggled in the past a little bit like his teammate Grumley has, where he's had some mega pace previously, but sometimes also is marred by his mistakes a little bit. But again, hopefully he can learn from what he's done in Split 3, continue a nice consistent run, and really become a major player here in Split 2. You know, we talk about 100% drivers, Scotty. They're the drivers who, they don't get marred by their mistakes very often, and they're ones that are on track all the time, and they're consistently doing their laps, and they're consistently fast. You think of, your Split 2 champions previously of Matt Scholes, Jason Strange, and also Rick Sibra. All 3 of them, when they won the championship, were 100% drivers. Like, they were just uber consistent. Like, Scholes is the only driver, to my knowledge, to ever finish inside the top 5 in every single race of a season in Split 2. He never finished outside the top 5. So it is absolutely imperative to try and just get those little niggles out of your driving style and try and just progress as a driver in not only keeping fast, but keeping consistent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an incredible effort to finish top 5 for the whole season here. I think we're finding Lanyon's... Is it Gretchen out there in front of my... Have I got it wrong here? Lanyon...
So
it's Kennedy behind him. Yes, I've got it now.
Greg's ahead of Crosby, and then Lanyon, and then into Kennedy in behind. And we've got Sipple, and then we've got Cesar in behind him as well. So only one previous Split 2 champion currently in the top 10, that being Troy Sipple. He's struggled in the past since coming back from Split 1 to get back up to his consistency and pace that he had when he actually won the championship in Split 2 a year ago in Season 14. but starting to get back into that sort of groove now, and maybe he could be a challenger in the future for a championship once again.
He's a very good driver, Troy. Quantum Pecky's Performance Racing, they're a little bit more motivated this season than I have seen them in the past, Hamish. And yeah, I'm looking forward to some big showings from them. Stephen Varga, a well-loved member of the V8 Veterans community, he's back. He's over at Quantum Pecky's. So yeah, there's a fired-up Pecky's outfit there, and he's driving extremely well at the moment. And Halal Caesar, he's another Split 1 driver. So these two guys here have been in Split 1, and they're both very competent drivers.
Yeah, I think they could be having some epic battles throughout this season, but Gary Buckland is into the pits, out of the lead of this race, so he's gotten an extra point for leading a lap here tonight. I don't believe he's led the most laps. I believe that'll go to Matty Parker thus far. He's led, I believe, about 50% of the laps in this race. But it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to Parker and to Grumley in behind him. Buckland, though, into the box now. Let's see what happens with him here as Grumley comes round as well as Parker. They come through all the lap traffic ahead of them at the moment. There's Caperonis just ahead of Grumley at this stage in time as well. Buckland's coming out of the lane, though. Who's he going to come out ahead of? He's lost it out to Parker. Is he going to come out ahead of Grumley? It appears he is as Caperonis comes by. There's Grumley on the outside, but Buckland's going to have the run off the exit of the pits. Oh, it could be on for young and old at the moment here, Scotty, between Buckland and Grumley for P2 of this race. As they come through turn 3, there's contact between them.
Oh, no, that's definitely, they both didn't need that. They knew it was on the line for that P3, but yeah, they didn't need that contact there. They needed to wait a little bit longer. That's a real shame, Hamish.
So could there be a penalty coming one of their ways in the future of this race? We'll have to wait and see. What it's done, though, is it has promoted Ed Fox onto the podium of this race. The little silent assassin that we mentioned already could be on here for quite an extraordinary performance here tonight out at Laguna Seca, but a massive moment here in the late stages between Grumley and Buckland here as Buckland came out of the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. That has turned this race on its head. Matty Parker, he's way out in front, but yeah, that contact, that change, geez, I feel for him because he had the fresh tyres. He had it all in front of him. He had 5 laps. He could have just gone flat out. They knew it. He put it up the inside. Real difficult call. We'll have to see what race control makes of that.
At the end of the day, it is their call. We can always give our opinions on what we think is the go. And we, our opinions, they're not concrete. They're not set in stone. They're our opinions, aren't they? We don't speak for race control. Their voice, their opinion is the one that is followed, in my opinion. I don't know if Steve should have gone for it necessarily on Gary there, but he did go for it, and that is racing at the end of the day. But we'll have to see what race control think, because their thoughts are the ones that matter.
Absolutely, it is. I mean, we can jump up and down as much as we want. It's not going to change the end result.
Exactly.
But this has changed it. Ed Fox, well done. Up into P3. He does have Gretsch not too far behind him, another silent achiever tonight. So, yeah, they're still in it. Buckland's back down in P5. He did gather that up pretty well. And he has got the fresh tyres, whether the damage will affect him. We're coming in. We've only got those 3-odd laps left now. So, yeah, this is where it really matters. If you've got those fresh tyres, you've got a little bit of tyre underneath you. This is where you start to push it. This is where you use it all and leave nothing on the track.
So Parker's now 11 or about 10 seconds ahead of P2 in Grumley. If Grumley were to get a penalty, that would put Ed Fox in P2. Can you see Parker making a mistake from here and losing out, or do you reckon this might be his one hand on the trophy moment at this point in time?
He should have it on. He should have one hand on that trophy tonight, mate. It's all for him to lose, isn't it? Like, if there may be some lap traffic to contend with, but at the end of the day, it's how you approach that. You've got such a big gap that you don't need to send it on them straight away. You just need to make your presence felt. Hey, I'm here. Move over, please. And when it's safe to do so, you take it. So yeah, this is his. He would be in cruise mode now. He knows he's only got a couple of laps, 10 seconds. It's a huge margin.
So could it be all done and dusted, or will Grumley or Ed Fox have an option or an opportunity to get up into P1? Rattler saying neither wanted to yield. Now, that's exactly right. Neither of them wanted to yield, and I mean, it was for P2. They're race drivers. Would you expect them to yield? I don't necessarily think so, but it is also easier to make these sort of thought processes happen when you're looking at it from an outside, but also from a retrospective position as well. So at that moment in time, you know, maybe it's hard to make that decision. Oh, big lockup though from Grumley, and he's struggling with that car. That's got some heavy damage on it right now, Scotty, and Fox could be all over him here in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, that's brought him right into it. Ed Fox is thinking, hey, keep doing some of them and I'm going to be on you, Grumley. But yeah, that damage is at play. He's coming into pit lane.
He is.
He may not have enough fuel to get there.
Well, not just that. It could just be the damage that's hurting him and he wants to come in for a fast repair just to have a fresh car. You know? If
you had the fuel to get to the end and you didn't have a meatball, you would...
No, maybe he did though. Maybe he did, or maybe he's copped something from race control. Who knows? Maybe that's the reasoning as well.
Yeah.
And I think he has. He's gotten a drive-through, so I reckon that's a penalty. I reckon race control's given him a penalty for the move on Buckland as he comes out of the pits, lights it up. Needs to be careful on exit. Does not want to get an iRacing black flag for crossing that white line as he comes on out. But he'll now come out around about P11 or P10 around Simon Heddersheet and Peter Latham as well. So. Just want to try and consolidate, try and get back into the top 10 and just get some good points off the back of this one. But what could have been for Mr. Grumley in this race?
You won't be happy with that. He's slotted right in between those two drivers there, and they've got clean cars. They want to get to the end. Yes, P10's on offer if he can get past Simon, but gee whiz, you wouldn't be happy with that. You've got to refocus. You've got another lap and a half to get it focused to the end. So yeah, it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts on that, actually, on how he felt. But at the end of the day, the penalty's been done. He served it, and that's the end of the story, really, isn't it?
That's right. John Gallen saying incident points with a question mark. No, it was for the contact, John. He's only on 8 incident points, so it wouldn't have been that. That was, I would say, and Stevens even said no, it was for the contact. So these things happen, though. At least his race is not done and dusted. At least he's back out there having a crack still. P11. Had a good run prior to that, so there are positives he can take out of it, of course, and there's always learnings through negatives or through positives as well, Scotty, and that's what's important to try and do going forward is just, you know, have those positive mindsets going forward and just learning from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Racing happens, like someone said in the chat, they didn't want to yield. Now, what is interesting is Buckland is right up behind Gretschy in going for third place. Like, it's on its last lap. He's an opportunity. If he gets a sniffy, he send it. He's got the better tyres, carrying a little bit of damage. But yeah, I wonder whether he'll get this done.
I don't know. They are teammates, so whether he goes for the move on his teammate or his teammate lets him have it, those questions will be answered. But Matty Parker's going to come round now. Final lap of the race as he comes through up towards turn 10 and 11. Just needs to keep it as clean as possible on his run through here into round 1 of split 2. Round the final corner he comes now. It's been a great run from him, and in fact, there's actually been contact between teammates of Buckland and Gretsch in the background. But he comes on through to come up towards the line, and Matty Parker will take P1 here tonight for split number 2. Ed Fox is going to come down to finish in P2 at the moment here for Player 1 Sim Team. Oh, it's a big slide out of the final corner.
Another one around.
Oh, that was Boyd around in front of him, but he comes up past the lap traffic into P number 2, and Darren Crosby in split 2. For the M1 Racing team up into P number 3. But there's Buckland in behind, and there was contact with him and his teammate towards the end of that lap. We'll quickly bring that up just to see what happened between them. So I was up at the corkscrew. They've come up. Oh, and he's just kind of left no space for his teammate. He sent it, locked it up. Oh, and just the slightest of contact between them. You hate to see it on the final lap.
Yeah, and the big benefit is Crosby. He would have got a slowdown for that as well. He went off the sand. He's seen it in front of him. But Crosby out into P3. He's done one of our famous ice skaters at the Olympics, mate.
Yeah, he has. He's done a nice little. The name now escapes me right at this moment. A Bradbury. He's done a Bradbury there.
He's done a Bradbury.
They had the pace, and there was actually 2 cars that went around them. That was also Mark Houghton, who was also into the wall as well as Boyd. So a couple of cars here into the wall on the final lap, but that is race done and dusted. It was Matty Parker out of P1 ahead of Ed Fox in P2. Barring any penalties to come the way of Parker, he will get that provisional win here tonight. But what a race it was, marred by a couple of indecisive moments from certain drivers. But in the end of the day, it was a nice, clean run home. And Parker now gets to celebrate here tonight out at Laguna Seca with our provisional race results coming up on screen for you in just a moment's time. We say they're provisional because, again, penalties could change things. But it'll be Matty Parker out of P1 for Nova Sim Sports ahead of Ed Fox for Player 1 Racing out of P2, with Darren Crosby making up our podium here tonight for M1 Racing. Gary Buckland will then come home in P4 ahead of Steve Lanyon out of P5, with Stephen Kennedy coming home P6. So a double top 10 for M1. It's a great run from them here tonight. Halil Cesar will then finish out of P7, and Stephen Grech out of P8, Troy Sipple in P9, and Simon Heddersheed will make up the top 10. It's then Steve Grumley, Peter Latham, Brendan Zatira, Andrew Hoffman, and John Gallen making up the top 15, with Trent Bennett, Shane Randall, and Todd Duggan making up the top 18 in behind them. We then go down to Brian Minogue, Robert Crow making up the top 20, with Mick Clifton, Will Munro, Todd Martin, Matt McMillan, and Scotty Weston making up the top 25 here tonight, with Glenn Corbett, Dave Arney, Reese DeGoey, and Russell Gander on debut, and Peter Vermey making up the top 30 here tonight, with Brett Taylor, Richard Barella, Jason DiPetito, Craig Healy, and Marty Hanson making up the top 35. We then move down to Jim Caparonis, Michael Power, and Mark Houghton, with Mario Reale and Stacey Boyd making up the top 40, with Wayne Shepherd, Matty Monday, Mark Howard, Matt Stoyles making up our final finishers of the race to get to 75%. Jamie Peters, Mark Peck, and Daniel Norris are our non-finishers here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. What a race it was. The way it unfolded, there was just some incidents throughout that. Those early big incidents really upset, really spread the field, Hamish. And then Gary Buckley, he'll be kicking himself over this. It's a race that probably got away from him. Those couple of contacts, he had a strategy at play that would have got him on the podium. Yeah, really unfortunate to see that from him. And I have followed him for quite some time, even when he was split 3. And yeah, to see he's come a long way since then. But yeah, Matty Parker, well driven, drove it brilliantly, had such a big gap in the end near 13 seconds, and good to see him get the win for Nova Sim Sports.
It was a very, very good run from him here tonight. We'll wait and see if any of our top 3 drivers come into the green room for a chat to us here tonight. Otherwise, we will let everyone go and enjoy their Saturday night and possibly go and enjoy the fourth quarter of the football if you're either a Sydney or a Bombers fan, or if you're waiting on anything else to come here tonight as well. But Scotty, while we wait to see if any of our podium finishers come here tonight, how'd you feel about round 1 of Split 2 on offer for us here out at Laguna Seca?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to be in here with you tonight, Hamish. It's my first call for the Split 2 crew, so I hope you enjoyed it. We will improve as time goes on and get a little bit more confident with it. But the racing side of it was very entertaining. There was some really good strategy calls going on. Like we talked about, it was unfortunate the incident did spread the field a little bit. From a spectator's point of view, I would have loved to have seen a safety car to condense it and then watch it unfold. But yeah, there's some really good drives. Really impressed with the way the Player 1 car went about it in Ed Fox. I thought he drove incredibly mature and just done everything he had to do and maximised his result at the end of the day from it.
That's exactly right, mate. Matt, I'm not sure if Gary got a penalty for that one. Don't worry, Jim. I've cooked something up for driver of the day, so I'm well prepared for that one. But we have got Ed Fox in the green room, so we will drag him in. Mr. Ed Fox, what a phenomenal turn of events for you here tonight, mate. And I'm glad you're in here because I am going to announce that you are, in fact, at least my Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day for round number 1, mate. What an epic drive from you to keep it nice and clean and consistent throughout proceedings and get your way up onto the podium for the first time here in Split 2. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, mate. And cheers, Scotty. It's good to have both of you commentating. It's kind of mixes it up. Yeah, no, it's an interesting race. There's a couple of guys had some really bad luck in front of me, so that kind of gave me some automatic promotions. But yeah, just managed to try and keep it consistent, and yeah, finished up in a nice little spot there. Hopefully, I can have more results like that for the remainder of the season, and maybe even challenge for the championship itself. But early days yet.
Well, yeah, really well done there, Ed. I was really impressed the way you went about it. Just kept it, just done what you had to do, mate, and stayed out of trouble, and the result came your way. Well done, and the Chubby Buns too. Player of the round, mate. That's the top effort. Really impressed.
Oh, cheers! Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for that, and thanks for all the other Split 2 drivers. It was a pretty good race. Some really quality driving up there. Really close stuff. I first couple of stints, I felt a little bit wobbly. It's funny. I was Laguna Seca is not a track that I like. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't gel with me. And I managed to actually cut some time off during the practice sessions earlier in the week, and I felt fairly confident. But then, come race time, that first stint and even a bit of the second stint, I just lost my mojo, and I felt like I was a little bit wobbly. So I just did what you said. I just tried to head down, tail up, just try and keep it consistent, not try and drive hot laps. And finally, in that third stint, I sort of found myself again, found myself a bit more comfortable, and yeah, managed to bring it home without too many mistakes. Yeah, it was a good run. Yeah, bad luck for Gaz and Steve, but yeah, that's tough. And also Jim earlier in the race, that was really unlucky, getting caught on the corkscrew like that. And there's just nothing you can do until the whole field passes you by.
Well, mate, that's exactly right. I know last season, especially, people were talking you up a little bit, Ed, of saying, oh, this is going to be his season to rise up, and you never really got there in the end. But now you've started out as the best possible way you could, getting it into the podium, getting your teeth sunken in, get that first podium out of the way here in Split 2 now. All you got to do is go one better and get that first win. But obviously, you mentioned that Laguna wasn't one of your favourable tracks. But John, as he said in the chat, has bet you love it now after getting a podium here.
Yeah, well, it's funnily enough, last time I raced here was in Split 3, and I think I finished third that race. So even though it's a track I don't like, I seem to do okay here for one reason or another. But no, it's a good track. Once you find, you've kind of find your groove. It's quite a fun track. There's a couple of little tricky bits, and you got to be careful with your front aero, following people too closely into various corners. But overall, yeah, it's a good race, and it's good to race the Split 2 guys. And obviously, congrats to Matty for finishing first. That was a great drive. He was just untouchable at the end there.
Well, one thing I will point out as well, Ed, is although Matty's not here to talk to us tonight, is the kind of the ghoul over the head of the round 1 winner for Split 2. The round 1 winner's never gone on to win the championship. So maybe Matty may not be in the best position going forward in this championship fight, although maybe he'll be the one to break the camel's back. But I suppose congratulations once again, mate, on P2 here tonight. It was a phenomenal run for you, and congratulations on getting driver of the day thanks to Chubby Buns Burgers. Let us know, mate, of who's giving you the support out from Player One Sim Racing, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Yeah. Look, thanks to Chubby Buns and all the sponsors of the series, Racecraft, Nova, Player One. This series is fantastic. I really enjoy competing in it, as do everybody else in the Player One team. So that's Neil. Shout out to Neil. Looking forward to him jumping back into the racing next round. He's moved house. So he's had to rebuild his rig and his entire sim architecture up there. So he'll be back on board next race. Jeff's our strategy guy. He gives us the tips on the kind of strategy to the options that we can try and employ each race week, and the other drivers in the team. We always have a good run together during the week and try and bounce off each other ideas. It's obviously Brendan, Jeff, Greg, and Roger. So just shout out to all those boys, and shout out to the league management. It's a great league. It's great to be part of it. Really enjoy it, and yourselves for taking the time out to give us this entertainment every Saturday night. Looking forward to more of this. Yeah.
Before you head off, Ed,
Mate.
Laguna Seca, that's the shortest track we're going to have for this series. So we've got that out of the way, but we're off to the longest track next round at Le Mans. What's your thoughts on that, mate? And have you had any team thoughts on how you guys are going to approach it, and to really get the maximum out of it? It is a long track. It's a 4-minute plus lap time around there, 10-litre fuel burn. So yeah, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's an interesting track for a V8 car, that's for sure. We had a bit of a chat about it after the race, and I'm thinking that if you can get a group of cars working together on those long straights, you're going to have a big advantage over those cars doing the solo runs. It's a tricky track. I've never driven it in a V8. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it rolls out. Those straights, I imagine there's going to be a lot of action on those straights in between turns, and the cars that can sort of work together, and maybe even if you can get a couple of teammates together and sort of look after your fuel, and get the draft together, and I think that those teams that kind of work together may have an advantage at Le Mans, because those straights is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely agree, mate. I've got a little secret to tell you about Le Mans, and it was with Dan Hall. We actually done a 6-hour solo enduro race at Le Mans in the V8 supercars, and it was a long way, but yeah, we tend to know that track really well. But you're exactly right what you're saying. You've got to work with someone there. You've got to be smart play about it. Fuel, yeah. So it's going to be an interesting one, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I think it'd be really interesting. Yeah, it's unfortunately I've sort of pulled my back, so I haven't had any practice yet. But hopefully Monday, the back's feeling a bit better. I can get on there, and yeah, we can try and work out some of those strategies for Thursday night. Yeah, it'll be an interesting race. Looking forward to it.
Well, Ed, I've also just checked the points just quickly, mate, and I also just double checked the penalties. You've in fact actually been given the win. You're actually our race winner here tonight. Matty Parker was given a penalty in that race, and he's now dropped below you in the standings. So, in fact, you are P1. Matty Parker is officially P2, and Gary Buckland is P3 here tonight.
Oh, God, is that right?
Yep.
Oh,
so congratulations on your win. So you're the one now. You're the one now with that goal over your head of the winner of race one. Although I don't know if we've actually had. I'll have to double check this. If we've ever actually had now in split 2, if you've ever had the winner not finish on track first for round 1, and in fact, if that's then gone on to win the championship or not, I'll have to double check that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think I saw that happen in the Logitech series recently, didn't they? They announced the winner, and then I saw maybe a day later they'd amended that based on something that had occurred during the race.
Yeah, 100% right there, Ed. I was in that race myself, and yeah, the winner there was Hampstead, and yeah, penalties came out afterwards, and yeah, went down the order. Didn't get the win, so that's what happens. I guess if the race control cannot get the penalties sorted, or there is a protest afterwards, they have to give it a post-race penalty, and in this case, very unfortunate for Matty Parker, but that's what's occurred. But in saying that, you put yourself in that position, mate, to win this race. So by all means, you deserved it. You put yourself there. You done the right thing. You got your car over the line, nice and clean. Stayed out of everyone's way. So 100%, that race is yours, mate. Well done.
Oh wow! Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Really bad luck to Matty. Sorry to hear that. But yeah, I'll take that for the player one, boys. Well, that's awesome.
You also now join Mr. Buckland as a person to get their debut win in Split 2 at Laguna Seca. So take with that what you will as well. We've kind of mentioned that Gary is the Mr. Consistent of Split 2, so maybe you're the next Gary Buckland. Who knows? But it was a phenomenal run for you here tonight, mate. You put your car where it needed to be, and you've been given the win off the back of a penalty. So maybe not the way you would have hoped to have won it, but now you start the season off with an absolutely perfect way with a P1. So congratulations from us. Congratulations on the driver of the day as well. Thanks for coming to have a chat to us here tonight, Ed, and best of luck out at Le Mans. I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a challenge next week.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Ed. Best of luck.
See ya.
Well, Scotty, very interesting developments there off the back of that to have Ed actually our winner here tonight. And he now actually has the curse over him of the first round winner. But very interesting to see how he goes this season. And maybe with the new commentary dynamic, maybe the curse now goes away and maybe Ed can continue this run and go on to win the championship.
Well, I hope he does. And, I'm always a big believer that if you put yourself in the position to win the race, whether the penalty came afterwards and you always sort of feel a little bit empty and where you go, well, maybe I didn't deserve it. I always think you do deserve it because you were there at the end. They got the penalty in the race, even though in this case it was post-race. So 100%. Credit to Eddie, put himself there. Unfortunate for Matty, but he still got P2, so he's still right up there. And it was still a great race, and And he's put everyone in their Split 2 category on notice that he is the man with the pace. And, Gary as well, he had an eventful night. Very unfortunate for him, Hamish, but I believe he's still P3, so
Yeah, he is.
he's right up there too.
Yeah, so it could be a very interesting run to come this season, ladies and gentlemen, for Split 2 of the Racekraft Simulations V8 Veterans. We come to you next time out at Le Mans for round number 2. We then head to Phillip Island for round 3, so we go there 2 seasons in a row. Then out to Watkins Glen for round 4, Silverstone for round 5, the Red Bull Ring for round 6, Sonoma Raceway 2 seasons in a row out of round 7, but a different layout this season for that track. Suzuka for round 8, Algarve, fresh to the iRacing service, fresh to the Vets calendar. I cannot wait for Portimao. And then Jerez to round out our season once again. So it's going to be a phenomenal season to come, Scotty. Phenomenal calendar for us here for season 19. I cannot wait to see what these Split 2 boys offer up for us, because if we can continue races like this all season, it's going to be a hell of a championship fight.
Yeah, it absolutely is. If this is a taste of what's to come, there was a couple of guys there who probably felt they missed out a little bit on where they could have been. So yeah, round 2 is going to be absolutely epic at Le Mans. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for having us here, Hamish. I really enjoyed doing the call with you. It's and great to see that we had so many watching. And yeah, thank you guys. Look forward to next round, mate.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will bring an end to our broadcast here tonight. We thank you so much for your time and bringing us into your homes or wherever you may be watching from out in the world of sim racing. We look forward to seeing you next time for round number 2. A big thank you to all of our series sponsors: Racecraft Simulations, Player One Sim Gear, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Nova Sim Sports, and Chubby Buns Burgers, bringing you the Chubby Buns driver of the day, who was tonight Ed Fox. We'll see you guys next time for round number 2 out at Le Mans. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well, and the bell icon so you are notified anytime we go racing here on the V8 Vets channel, or whenever we bring out any of content for your viewing pleasure, including the Friday night Split 3 kitchen. I haven't had a chance to catch up on the kitchen from last night yet, but I will be catching up on it after this broadcast. You'll get the Saturday night Split 2 broadcast here with myself and Scotty, and then every 2 weeks on a Sunday morning, you get the Beyond the Apex podcast returning to your screens next Sunday night. So not tomorrow morning, but next Sunday morning, I should say, the 31st of March, where my guest Connor Nixon will join me for a brilliant interview. A guy who has dealt with a lot of struggles in his life. In fact, he's actually in a wheelchair and still does sim racing. Can you believe that, Scotty? He's in a wheelchair and still goes sim racing, and he's competitive. It's absolutely phenomenal stuff from him. So I look forward to having a chat to him. Hope to see you guys in the chat for that one as well. And hope to see you here next week for Split 2 out at Le Mans. But until then, from myself, Hamish Munro, and Scotty Gamble alongside me, this has been the Racecraft Simulations V8 Veterans Split number 2, round number 1 out here at Laguna Seca. We'll see you next time for round 2. But until then, bye for now.
I ain't playing weak, no, I'm playing for keeps. Can't stop me, I'm a legend. I'm one with the crew that's making the moves. Get out of the way, we coming through. We got this, never stopping, and we won't lose. No, we can't lose. Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. We are the legends. We are the legends. Yeah. Are you ready? We are the legends. We are the legends.
Introducing the Racecraft PT1, custom-built full chassis racing simulator. The design project, codenamed The Cage, an 80/40 extrusion chassis sitting on top of a Sigma Integrale DK2 Plus 4-point full motion actuator system. No compromises in the cockpit of the PT1 simulator. To maximize the experience, we start with a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor for the greatest field of view in a small footprint of the simulator, down to the SimuCube wheelbase that's tucked up and behind the monitors with SimCore extensions to get things out of the driving area Everything is connected to a Cube Controls GTX steering wheel with the built-in dash and all the extra button functions available at your fingertips. Driving through the Raceworks S1 pedals, the potentiometer throttle and the 2 hydraulic pedals for brake and clutch ensures you maximize the feel underfoot, and seating yourself into an OMP HTER bucket racing seat with OMP belts connected to a G-belt tensioner to provide that extra feeling and the heightened experience while you're driving. Additional interfaces and accessories in the PT1, we have twin butt kickers, one on either side of the OMP seat, as well as a Jinx sequential shifter, the SimPush Race Logic timer to the left-hand side, a Racecraft built-in WinSim kit with Philips Hue lighting and a built-in soundbar, plus the OMP side net to finish off the experience in the PT1. The Racecraft PT1, build number 1, the ultimate in sim racing experience, combining the best products in the market with the passionate, no compromise approach that goes beyond racing simulation.